o'clock I start. Okay. Now, if you remember, the chapter is equality. Equality is samatha. And what does it mean? It means not to be affected by anything coming from outside into you, from the environment. It may be praise, it may be insult, it may be an attack, it may be good fortune, bad fortune, anything. But you must remain absolutely untouched. And no emotion should be a reaction to you. That's the equality. And there are three types of equalities. There is a tamasic equality, which we have discussed last time. And now we will be discussing the rajasic equality. And next week, probably, or next week, it will be the sattvic equality. And then after that, there is spiritual equality. So today we are doing the rajasic equality. Okay, so I am reading each sentence. Still, in this movement, the equality consists only in an equal recoil from all that constitutes a world. Okay? All that constitutes a world. Good, bad, happy, unhappy, okay? Disaster, tragedy, good fortune, bad fortune. Everything leaves you absolutely cold and untouched. Okay? So there is a rajasic equality. Why? Because rajasic, you have withdrawn from the effects of the world. And it arrives at indifference and aloofness. Indifference, it makes no difference to me. I'm absolutely untouched. And aloofness. Okay? You don't participate in the physical world activities. But does not include that power to accept equally all the touches of the world, pleasurable or painful, without attachment or disturbance, which is a necessary element in the discipline of the Gita. So, rajasic equality is that with which you are withdrawing yourself. You go, it's an inward movement, you withdraw. But the Gita is saying you must be able to enjoy everything that comes to you. Okay? So that's the difference. You accept, you don't reject. In the rajasic equality, you are rejecting. You are going into yourself and rejecting everything coming from outside. That does not include the power to accept equally all the pleasures of the world, pleasurable and painful, without attachment or disturbance, which is a necessary element in the discipline of the Gita. Therefore, the two movements are clear. Na? One is you are going inwards, and one you are open to everything that is coming from outside. But you are not affected. The common thing is you are not affected at all. Okay? So, therefore, even if we begin with a tamasic recoil, which is not at all necessary, okay, it can only be as a first incitement to a greater endeavor, not as a permanent pessimism. The tamasic equality should not be pessimism. That's what I'm saying. If it is not done in that sense, then it can be a help to go to the rajasic equality. Tamasic equality is you are disgusted with everything and you withdraw from it. But this is rajasic is more with more energy. There it's a sort of surrendering to the conditions of the world. In the tamasic one, you accept that it is like that. Very lethargically, you withdraw yourself. But here, with great power, you are withdrawing. Okay? See? Therefore, even if you begin with the tamasic recoil, which is not at all necessary, it can only be as a first incitement to a greater endeavor. The first incitement is the tamasic recoil, and the greater endeavor is the rajasic recoil, not as a permanent pessimism. The real discipline, pessimism means everything in the physical world is disgusting for me. There's nothing there which is useful to me. That's a tamasic recoil. The real discipline begins with the movement to mastery over these things, from which we were first inclined merely to flee. Okay? The fleeing of your He is describing the Rajasic equality. It is here that the possibility of a kind of Rajasic equality comes in, okay, which is at its lowest the strong nature's pride in self-mastery, okay, self-control, superiority to passion and weakness. Suppose something is unpleasant to you, you withdraw and you say, okay, I will not do this. You withdraw from everything. Suppose you are losing at a game, then you stop gaming it. You get away from it. Okay? That if you are doing business and it fails, you stop it. You are withdrawing from it. That's what it is. And it comes in at its lowest. Okay? There are even grades. There are Rajasic equality also, there are grades. That's the interesting part. Okay? At its lowest, the strong nature's pride in self-mastery, self-control, superiority to passion and weakness. But the Stoic ideal seizes upon this point of departure and makes it the key to an entire liberation of the soul from subjection to all weakness of its lower nature. So, the Rajasic equality is a weakness because you are not able to handle the impacts of the physical world, you withdraw from it. Now the Stoicism is neither withdrawal nor acceptance, but you are very calm and quiet and you remain absolutely untouched. But the Stoic ideal seizes upon this point of departure. The Rajasic departure is only a point of departure and makes it the key to an entire liberation of the soul from subjection to all weakness of the lower nature. Naturally, the Rajasic qualities of the lower nature. As the Tamasic inward recoil is a generalization of nature's principle of Jugupsa. Jugupsa we have already discussed earlier. Okay? It is the withdrawing from something which hurts you. Just like the mimosa plant. No? If you touch it, it withdraws. It closes and goes in. It doesn't want to be touched. That's a Rajasic quality. But the Stoic ideal seizes upon this point of departure. Only it starts with that. But it becomes capable of handling everything that comes in without being touched. The Stoic ideal seizes upon this point of departure and makes it a key to an entire liberation of the soul from subjection to all weakness of its lower nature. As the Tamasic inward recoil is a generalization of nature's principle of Jugupsa or self-protection from suffering, so the Rajasic upward movement is a generalization of nature's other principle of the acceptance of struggle and effort and the innate impulse of life towards mastery and victory. So Swami is saying something very interesting. He's saying that in the yogic, the individual, you are applying only that which already exists in nature. Okay? So it's very interesting what he's saying. Okay? For instance, I'll give you two examples. Okay? It's quite interesting. Think about it. Normally, plants need water and sunlight. Okay? I'm talking of nature. Okay? Normally, you need water and sunlight. But if the water is too saline, okay, then the plant can't thrive, it will die. But nature introduces an element of effort to bypass that saline water and you end up with mangroves. So nature is utilizing the same thing. That which is a difficulty for me, nature says, I will bypass and manage to adjust myself to that situation. The same thing also happens. Yeah, the same thing also happens in the desert. Okay? A plant can't thrive in the desert. But nature says you must force yourself to bypass the difficulty and it creates a cactus which grows very much in desert land. Okay? So this individual also, you have to do that. That's what Chandra is saying. Okay? The Tamasic inward recoil is general, that is the Tamasic. Now he's talking of the other one. Okay? The principle of Jugupsa, so the Rajasic upward movement is a generalization of nature's other principle of the acceptance of struggle and effort and the innate impulse of life towards mastery and victory. So nature has mastered the waterlessness of the desert and the saline water of the sea. So that's what nature is doing. You have to do the same. You have to bypass the difficulties and conquer them. That's the Rajasic equality. Wonderful. What Sandra is saying, so it is a generalization of nature. All that is there in nature, we know that in principle. Okay? We know that in nature, whatever is there also in the individual. There is a complete correspondence between nature and the individual. In fact, both are the same. Nature is an expansion of the individual. It's a dilution and a diversification and an expansion of the individual. And the individual is a contraction of all that exists in nature. So he is giving you a very interesting example here, okay, of nature doing that. I gave you 2 examples. There are 100,000 examples you can see. Okay. So this is the in nature you see plenty of these things. How nature conquers and always wanting to conquer the. Take a bird. Okay, it does not have a particular bird does not have the capacity to build a nest. So what does it do? It uses other people's nests. That's a cuckoo. The cuckoo does exactly that. I don't have the capacity to build a nest, but I'll use other nests. It lays its eggs in other nests. So like that you will see all the time. There are so many different. Even the parasitic plant. No? So it doesn't have the capacity to feed itself. So it feeds on another plant. Okay? So this is nature is acting in this interesting way. So I now come to, I read that sentence again. As the tamasic inward recoil is a generalization of nature's principle of jugupsa, withdrawal, okay, or self-protection from suffering, so the rajasic upward movement is a generalization of nature's other principle of the acceptance of struggle and effort and the innate impulse of life towards mastery and victory. But it transfers the battle to the field where alone complete victory is possible. Instead of a struggle for scattered outward aims and transient successes, it proposes nothing less than the conquest of nature and the world itself by spiritual struggle and an inner victory. So this is the one who is a Rajasic temperament. He wants to master the nature. Just 1 minute, I'm getting a phone call. দাদা আমি একটা ক্লাসে আছি, ক্লাস শেষ করে আপনাকে ফোন করব। হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ, another half an hour, 1 hour, আমি ফোন করব। So now this is the tamasic recoil is like the mimosa plant which doesn't want to get hurt. It moves away from it. Even the plants, it's very interesting. The plants, suppose you put loud music, they made experiments. Okay? Loud music, and it does not like, it moves away from the loudspeaker. There is an experiment done. There is a very interesting book called The Secret Life of Plants. And there they have experimented, scientific experiment. Loud music and the plant moves away from it. And when you play, it's a sitar music that was played, soft and sweet and all. The plant actually moves towards the loudspeaker and completely covers the loudspeaker. So these are the 2 movements of nature. One is a withdrawal and one is a acceptance, happy acceptance. Okay. So there is also a middle path where you don't react at all. So this is what Sandra is describing, the relation between the individual and nature. So I'm reading now the sentence, the tamasic recoil turns from both pains and pleasure of the world to flee from them. The Rajasic movement turns upon them to bear, master, and rise superior to them. This stoic self-discipline calls desire and passion into its embrace of the wrestler and crushes them between its arms, as did old Dhritarashtra in the epic The Iron Image of Bhima. So I'm giving another example, very interesting example. Dhritarashtra is not happy at all by Bhima's conquest of Duryodhana or whatever it is. I'm not sure of the details, but then he asked him to come to him. And Sri Krishna knows what Dhritarashtra is going to do. So he tells Bhima, you don't go, but you send an image, an iron image of yourself. And when he goes, Dhritarashtra is blind, remember. So he can't distinguish. So he takes this image of Bhima and crushes it. Okay. So this is what is a Rajasic equality. The Rajasic tendency in nature. You master the, the difficulties of nature. Exactly as you said in the mangroves, nature is making sure that too much saline water will not discourage me. Nor the
in this story, what is the Rangada? What is the conquest in this story? What is the conquest of Rajasic conquest?
Charika, I'm not exactly able to understand your question.
No, you said that Rajasic conquest. So what in this story?
The Rajasic concept is the tendency in man and nature to face the difficulties of life and conquer them. That's a Rajasic tendency.
No, in the story, when you told the story about Bhima, no? So in that story, where is the concept of Rajasic?
Acha. See, I'm not, as I told you, I'm not sure of the thing. But Bhima defeats Duryodhana, remember?
Yeah.
So Dhritarashtra is naturally very angry. It's something that he can't swallow. So he tries to react in a Rajasic manner. So it comes to the same thing. Okay? So he reacts, trying to kill the difficulty. And the difficulty in this case is Bhima. He has killed his own son. So he wants a revenge. So the Rajasic tendency is to master nature and conquer it. Mastering nature is okay, but conquering it also and killing the difficulty. Right?
But here the result is not conquering, no? Dhritarashtra doesn't conquer.
Well, second best. Second best result.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he is conquering in this sense that which has killed his son, he is eliminating. So he is master. He has become master. In that sense, we can say. Okay. I go to the next sentence. It endures the shock of things painful and pleasurable and breaks their effects to pieces. This is the Rajasic tendency in nature and in the individual. Both. It is
Rangana, you missed one phrase.
Pardon?
You missed one phrase. The causes of the physical mental affections of nature.
I missed one line, you mean?
One phrase in between.
Yeah. The stoic, no? The stoic self-discipline calls then
from it endures the shock of things painful and pleasurable, the causes of the physical and mental affections. After that, it comes and breaks their effects.
I don't know. Maybe my text is SABCL. And your text may be, Achha, tell me, since I'll make a note of that. Okay, so I'm going, I'm reading the text from the Tamasic Recoil. Okay. Pallavi, I want to know.
No, the next stanza, line, Rangada, after the Dhritarashtra thing, the next line you read, after Bhima,
it endures the shock.
Yes. So maybe you have missed the phrase, one phrase in between.
No.
In my, shall I read my version?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah.
It
After
endures the
iron
shock
image
of
of
things.
Bhima, after iron image of Bhima, you tell me.
It endures the shock of things, painful and pleasurable, the causes of the physical and mental affections of the nature, and breaks their effects to pieces.
I have the same text.
No, but while reading, I think you missed out the one line.
Okay, so now I read that. It endures the shock. Okay. I don't think I was reading. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now it's clear. So, it endures. What is the it? The Rajasic movement. It endures the shock of things, painful and pleasurable. This is the Stoic self-discipline. Okay. Not the Rajasic. The Stoic self-discipline. The Rajasic is only conquering nature, but the Stoic discipline it is something else. The Stoic discipline calls desire and passion into its embrace of the wrestler and crushes them between its arms as their own possession. Now I read the next sentence. It endures the shock of things, painful and pleasurable. The causes of the physical and mental affections of the body, of the nature, and breaks their effects to pieces. Okay? So there is the description of how you react to nature when you are a strong character. If you are a weak character, your reaction is tamasic equality. But if you are a strong character, you try to conquer nature and the difficulties. It is complete. This movement becomes complete when the soul can bear all touches without being pained or attracted, excited or troubled. It seeks to make man the conqueror and king of his nature. Okay? So, his description here of the Rajasic equality. You try to be equal to everything and be master. Okay? So, now.
So, Rangada,
Yeah.
Stoicism between Tamasic equality and Rajasic equality. It is in between.
The Stoic equality is not being affected by anything in the physical world. It is equality at its best.
No, but that is not Tamasic equality.
No, Tamasic is a stage and Rajasic also is a stage. Okay? But Stoicism is, as I told you, it's a philosophy of the samatha, equal to the samatha. You try to endure everything. Okay? And there also there are three levels. Okay? So they will describe that later on. Okay? So, in fact, the next paragraph he is going to describe the three stages of equality: the endurance, then the complete mastery of and the third level is the total enjoyment of everything. There are grades. So he has been describing the Tamasic grade, he has described the Rajasic grade, and now he will tell you what the Gita is saying. Okay? So, Stoicism is a word common to all these. Stoicism is not to be affected by, like samatha, okay? Equality, just equality. But then there are grades. So Sendri is discussing all the grades, okay, of the equality. Even the tamasic equality is a grade. It's a weakness, but still it's a grade. Okay? So now we have to read the next one. The Gita making its call on the warrior nature of Arjuna. So, what's the time? 24. So we have got 15 minutes. So we can read the next one. It's quite a long para. We may not be able to discuss it fully, but we can read it. So who will read? We need a volunteer. Pallavi, you were not there on Tuesday, na?
Yes, Rangadan.
Yeah, so you read today. You read the Gita making its call.
The Gita, making its call on the warrior nature of Arjuna, starts with this heroic movement. It calls on him to turn on the great enemy desire and slay it. Its first description of equality is that of the Stoic philosopher. He whose mind is undisturbed in the midst of sorrows and amid pleasures is free from desire, from whom liking and fear and wrath have passed away, is the sage of settled understanding, who in all things is without affection, though visited by this good or that evil, and neither hates nor rejoices. His intelligence can in his intelligence sits firmly founded in wisdom. If one abstains from food, it says, giving a physical example, the object of sense ceases to affect, but the affection itself of the sense, the rasa, remains. It is only when, even in the exercise of the sense, it can keep back from seeking its sensuous aim in the object, artha, the abundant and abandon the affection, the desire for pleasure of taste, that the highest level of soul is reached. It is by using mental organs on the objects, ranging over them with the senses, Visayana Indriyas Karan, but with senses subject to the self, freed from liking and disliking, that one gets into a large and sweet clearness of soul and temperament in which passion and grief find no place. All desires have to enter into the soul as waters into the sea, and yet it has to remain immovable, filled but not disturbed. So in the end, all desires can be abandoned. To be freed from wrath and passion and fear and attraction is repeatedly stressed as a necessary condition of the liberated status. And for this, we must learn to bear their shocks, which cannot be done without exposing ourselves to their causes. He who can bear here in the body the velocity of wrath and desire is the yogin, the happy man. Titiksa, the will and power to endure is the means. The material touches which cause heat and cold, happiness and pain, things transient which come and go, these learn to endure. But the man whom these do not trouble or nor pain, the firm and wise, who is equal in pleasure and suffering, makes himself apt for immortality. The equal soul has to bear suffering and not hate, to receive pleasure and not rejoice. Even the physical affections are to be mastered by endurance, and this too is part of the Stoic discipline. Age, death, suffering, pain are not fled from, but accepted and vanquished by a high indifference. Not to flee appalled from nature in her lower mass, but to meet and conquer her in the true instinct of the strong nature, Purusa Sabha. Puru Sarbha Sabha. The lion in Purusha Sabha. Oh, Purusha Sabha. The lion in soul among men. Thus compelled, she throws aside her mask and reveals to him his true nature as the free soul, not her subject but her king and lord, Swarata, Samrat.
Okay, so now he is telling you what the Gita is saying. The Gita, making its call on the warrior nature of Arjuna, okay, starts with this heroic movement. The heroic movement, not the tamasya recoil. Okay, so heroic recoil. What is a heroic recoil? Mastery of nature, mastery of the difficulties, not to be affected by it. It calls on him. It, who is the it? The Gita. Okay, the Gita calls on him to turn on the great enemy, desire. The great enemy is desire, and slay it. Its first description of equality is that of the Stoic philosopher. He whose mind is undisturbed in the midst of sorrows and amid pleasures. Note, both, because both set up vibrations of excitement. Sorrow also sets up negative vibrations of excitement, and pleasures set up positive in the sense that it excites you more in that sense. Okay, vibrations of pleasure. So both have to be conquered. Is free from desire, from whom liking and fear and wrath have passed away. Is a sage of settled understanding. He whose mind is undisturbed in the midst of sorrows and amid pleasure is free from desire, from whom liking and fear and wrath have passed away. Is a sage of settled understanding, who in all things is without affection, though visited by this good or that evil, and neither hates nor rejoices. His intelligence sits firmly founded in wisdom. Okay? So this is in quotes. He is actually translating. But Shabda's translations are very fluid. They are literary, not literal. Okay, so, and then he's giving a very interesting example. If one abstains from food, it says, giving a physical example, the object of sense ceases to affect, but the affection itself of the sense, the rasa, remains. Okay? So what he's saying, we'll take a very easy example and you will see what it means. Suppose you have desire for sweets like me. Okay, so I'm not planning to do what the Gita is saying, but this is what he's saying. So you realize that your desire for sweets is a desire which you have to conquer. So what you do, you start withdrawing from it. Then if you have become absolutely immune to it, okay, even if you eat it, it will not affect you. You will not, that positive enjoyment may not be there, but the rasa will remain. The sweetness will remain. The senses are working, but the psychological effect on you is not there. Very interesting example that he is giving. In other words, once you have done that, it makes no difference to you whether you eat the rasagulla or not. Okay? But the one who has not yet conquered tries to deny, and he says, I'll try to conquer it by not eating the rasagulla. Okay? But if you manage to succeed in becoming equal to it, whether you eat or not makes no difference. You are absolutely untouched. The absence of a rasagulla will not discourage you, will not make you sad. And the presence of a rasagulla, if it is offered to you, you will eat it without being affected at all. That's the example that is given. The rasa remains. When you, so there's two things. Either you can withdraw from taste. You can ask the divine, remove all taste from me so that it doesn't attract me anymore. Or you can also pray for the other one. Make my taste so great and so expanded that it will enjoy everything that comes to me. Again, then you are in the positive, you are not affected. You only enjoy. So this is the example being given, very interesting example. It is only when, even in the exercise of the sense, it can keep back from seeking its sensuous aim in the object, artha, and abandon the affection, the desire for the pleasure of taste, that the highest level of the soul is reached. So now we'll read that again. Okay. It is only when, even in the exercise of the sense, that means you are continuing to eat, okay, it can keep back from seeking the sensuous aim in the object artha and abandon the affection, the desire of the pleasure of taste, that the highest level of the soul is reached. So I don't know if you have understood, but it is. When you are eating a rasagulla and enjoying it, okay, you are being affected. But when you are eating the rasagulla without, you see the taste is there, but you are not attracted to the taste. It's just an object, a neutral object. That is the highest level of the soul is reached. Okay? Think about it, it's very subtle. Okay? It is by using the mental organs on the objects, ranging over them with the senses. Vishayan Indriyais Charan. Now, that's a very interesting thing. What is it? We'll try and understand that because it's the analysis is fantastic. Okay, in the Gita. He's saying when you are, the senses are imagining. Okay, suppose you know that today you are going to go. I'm speaking only with one example, but you can extend that to everything. Okay, so today I know that I'm going to get rasagullas for dinner. Okay, then my mind starts imagining and start actually imagining that I am eating and the enjoyment that I am giving. That is what it meant by Vishayan Indriyais Charan. Okay? Vishayan, your senses, you are enjoying the sensation of that sweetness. Okay? That has to stop. That's what he's saying. It's very interesting. Ranging over them with your senses are, your mind is already imagining that you are eating and you are enjoying it without the actual physical object. Okay? In the Vishayan, objects of sense. Vishaya is the object of sense. In that case, our case, the Rasagulla. Okay. Indriya is Charan. So even without the Rasagulla, my mind and my senses are imagining and I am enjoying it even before the thing is coming. Charan, it is ranging over, thinking, taking it, and enjoying the imagination. This has to stop. Okay. What's the time? 36. There were 4 minutes more. I continue. But with senses subject to the self, the senses are not moving anymore, and the senses are absolutely immobile. When the senses are mobile, the enjoyment is there even before the object of sense comes. Okay? But with senses subject to the self, freed from liking and disliking, that one gets into a large and clear, sweet clearness of soul and temperament, in which passion and grief find no place. Now, the very interesting is clearness of soul. Okay, the word is in Sanskrit prasannata, and prasannata is a very interesting word. Okay, it is absolutely clear, transparent. It is not sullied by desire. There is no sullying of desire. When there is an attraction or repulsion, the substance gets muddied. But when you are absolutely equal, that substance becomes absolutely clear and transparent. You are not affected by anything. Okay? That's a sweet clearness of soul and temperament in which passion and grief find no place. Okay? All desires have to, and now the beautiful image again, Gita's, all desires have to enter into the soul as waters into the sea, and yet it has to remain immovable, filled, but not disturbed. So in the end, all desires can be abandoned. The image being given is excellent. Okay? The sea is vast and calm, and the river is entering into it. Okay? But when the river enters into it, the river is the sense object. Okay? It's coming into yourself, you are the sea, and the entering of the sea, the river into the sea makes absolutely no difference to the sea. It remains the same. Okay? Now that's a very interesting thing what he's saying, because even in the physical world, if you see, okay, the river entering into the river is sweet water, but when it goes into the sea, it merges into the salt water and becomes one with everything else there. Okay? And this is a very interesting image because I'm now going to geography. The largest river in the world is the Amazon in South America. And it is so large a body of sweet water that when it enters into the sea, even for 7, 8 miles or even 10 miles, the sea itself is sweet water. That means the sea is getting affected. Okay? But in normal rivers, it doesn't get affected at all. So the image is a very apt one. The river coming and becoming one with the sea. Okay? So it should not affect the condition of the saline water in the sea. That's the image being given. It's a beautiful image. Okay? All desires have to enter into the soul as waters into the sea, and yet it has to remain immovable. When a desire comes into you, it tries to evoke your senses and give you a sense of pleasure or unpleasantness, but it doesn't affect you at all. So this is a condition where you can do whatever you were doing earlier with desire, but now you are doing it without desire. That's the real equality. Obviously, it's a very difficult thing, and it can be done only when the mind withdraws completely from the body-mind life. The real samatha, the real equality, comes when your soul goes out of the body-mind life and remains aloof. That's it. So, I read the next one. There is still, it's 41. So we can stop here. It's a very interesting paragraph. And if there are any questions, we can discuss it next time. Otherwise, we'll continue from all desires have to enter into the soul. We'll read from there. Okay. Since 8:40 already, we have to stop.
Thank you, Rangata.
Okay.
One should
One should